And now we are going to talk about Wales. Wales is a part of the United Kingdom which occupies a large peninsula in western Britain. It is divided from England by major rivers and mountain ranges. Traditionally, the Prince of Wales is the eldest son of the English monarch. The different ethnic groups and tribes that settled in ancient Wales gradually merged politically and culturally to defend their territory from first the Romans and later the Anglo-Saxon and Norman invaders. The sense of national identity was formed over centuries as the people of Wales struggled against being absorbed into neighboring cultures. The heritage of a common Celtic origin was a key factor in shaping Welsh identity and uniting the warring kingdoms. The population of Wales constitutes 4.8% of the UK population. Wales was annexed by England in the Middle Ages. From the 19th century onwards, the ideas of national consciousness have become very popular. In 1999, this movement culminated in the acquisition of limited autonomy within the UK. Wales includes a heavily industrialized south, a largely anglicised and prosperous farming east, and a Welsh-speaking hill farming north and west. The Welsh language is a key component of the national identity. Welsh is a member of the Celtic language family spoken mainly in Wales. Welsh was still spoken by about half of the population in 1900, but its use began to decline steadily. The survival of the language became one of the main cultural and political themes in the national life. It is now spoken by about 20% of the population, notably in the heartland, the so-called Welsh-speaking region. In 1993, the Welsh Language Act was passed. It established in principle the equality of Welsh and English in Wales. Welsh culture was based on an oral tradition of legends, myths, and folk tales passed down from generation to generation. Singing is the most important of the performance arts in Wales and has its roots in ancient traditions. Music was both entertainment and means for telling stories. The Welsh National Opera is one of the leading opera companies in Britain. Wales is famous for its all-male choirs, which have evolved from the religious choral tradition. Traditional instruments such as the harp are still widely played. As for the Welsh national character, they are very proud of their language and culture. There is no other part of the British Isles where national traditions are more cherished than in Wales. As you can see in the picture, the Welsh still proudly wear their national dress on festive occasions. The Welsh are the remnants of those pugnacious Celtic people who were subjected to centuries of Roman rule. The old Welsh proverb says, "The Celt always fights and always loses." And now we are going to talk about Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is the smallest country in the UK. It is located on the island of Ireland, where it shares a land border with the Republic of Ireland. The population of the Northern Ireland constitutes 2.9% of the general population. Northern Ireland is sometimes referred to as Ulster, although it includes only 6 of the 9 counties which made up that historic Irish province. Northern Ireland has long witnessed generations of newcomers and immigrants, including Celts from continental Europe and Vikings, Normans and Anglo-Saxons. In the 17th century, thousands of Scottish Presbyterians were forcibly resettled and English military garrisons built. These arrivals established the ethnic, religious, and political differences that eventually resulted in violent conflicts. Since the 1920s, when Northern Ireland was officially separated from Ireland, it has been tormented by sectarian violence. Religious and cultural traditions mix here with politics. Unionists, who are mostly Protestant, want Northern Ireland to remain part of the UK. Nationalists, who are mostly Roman Catholic, have traditionally favoured union with the Irish Republic. The Irish Republican Army, IRA, was created in 1919, seeking the establishment of a republic, the end of British rule in Northern Ireland, and the reunification of Ireland. IRA employed guerrilla tactics, including ambushes, raids, sabotage, and acts of terrorism, to put pressure on the British government. The bombings, shootings, and sectarian brutality of Northern Ireland's troubles lasted for decades. Over 3,600 people, most of them civilians, died. The violence spread to the British mainland. On July 28, 2005, however, the IRA announced that it had ended its armed campaign and instead would pursue only peaceful means to achieve its objectives. After a series of power-sharing agreements which addressed differences over national identities in Northern Ireland, as well as the relationship with Dublin, a fragile peace was finally established. However, dissident Republican groups such as the Real IRA and Continuity IRA still represent a threat to the peace process. Cultural life in Northern Ireland tends to follow the contours of political and sectarian differences. Irish music and dance and the Gaelic games, football and hurling, form a cultural focus in nationalist communities. English is spoken throughout the country and the native language of Gaelic is disappearing. Many Gaelic speakers died in the Great Famines of the 1840s. Gaelic was replaced by English, which was needed to achieve social mobility. Gaelic still carries a stigma as the language of the poor. Gaelic is a Celtic language that probably was introduced by Celts in the last few centuries BC. Similar to Scottish Gaelic, it shares common structures with Welsh and Breton. Graffiti and wall murals appear throughout urban areas, depicting the sentiments of Unionists and nationalists, as you can see in the illustration. In the case of the nationalists, IRA propaganda and images of men with guns tell supporters to fight back and state that we will meet force with force. Catholic children learn from graffiti the strong views and potential for violence held by the nationalists. According to Carl Whitke, a historian, the so-called Irish temperament is a mixture of flaming ego, hot temper, stubbornness, great personal charm, warmth, and a wit that shines through adversity. In the past, all agreed on the warm-heartedness, inquisitiveness, and social disposition of the Irish, whereas on the dark side, their proneness to fight and riot, inclination to lawlessness, and lack of forward thinking were commonly mentioned. The Irish are often teased for what some call Irish logic, but still they are renowned for their gifts as storytellers and admired for the gift of eloquence. This is the end of the second part.